Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me. Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. In just 45 days after she took over as Prime Minister, Liz Truss was forced to resign. But she leaves behind two huge questions. How much damage has she done to her Conservative Party, and who will succeed her? Joining me from London is the former Secretary of State for International Development, former Chief Whip of the Conservative Party, and a Tory MP of 30 years standing. In fact, very few people understand Britain's Conservative Party better than my guest, Andrew Mitchell. Andrew Mitchell, Liz Truss has ended up being the shortest duration Prime Minister in Britain's history. Even George Canning in the 1820s managed 4 months, and he lost office because he died. Truss has been effectively turfed out in virtual humiliation. So let me start by asking, what's your assessment of her performance as Prime Minister?
Well, Karen, we talked about the contest when it had its rounds before, and when, as you know, I was supporting Rishi Sunak. And to that very turbulent state of politics, I think that Liz Truss was ill-equipped to handle the issues and the problems that beset us. And I think, in a nutshell, ideology came up against reality, and reality won. And I think that these defenestrations, they're extremely rough and brutal. And, this morning I am thinking of her and her family and thanking her for her public service. But it was not the right choice. And in the brutal way of politics around the world and in Britain, she has been dispatched.
Was she a disaster for the 42 days, 44 days that she was Prime Minister?
Well, the problem for her, above all, were economic. The markets did not accept that she had a policy that would work. The big mistake was to show only one side of the balance sheet, where the income was coming from, and not to talk about the expenditure. And the markets took fright from that. And as a result of that, people saw the rise in borrowing costs because the markets are unsentimental. They require a return, an interest rate commensurate with the risk. And they thought that the risk of Liz Truss's administration was higher than before. And that's why the rates went up. And that's why we had to have Jeremy Hunt installed as the Chancellor, the Minister of Finance. And he has steadied the markets because people know he's experienced. And he's run the biggest international Department of State, and he's run the most significant domestic Department of State, and they knew a safe pair of hands were back. So I think that what the result of all of this was that confidence was lost economically and then politically, and that's why Liz went.
Jeremy Hunt restored calm and restored the goodwill of the markets by reversing virtually everything that Liz Truss had done. So I come back to my question, was she a disaster?
Well, I don't think I want to use terms like that, but I'm explaining why it was that she went. And as you have just said, it was the economy, it was ideology coming up against reality. And as I have said, reality will always win in those circumstances. And also, the Conservative Party is at its best when it's a compassionate, one nation party. And it didn't look or feel like that under her leadership.
How much of a setback is this for your party, the Conservatives?
Well, it's a very considerable setback. It affects our reputation internationally. It massively affects the reputation of the Conservative Party. And the whole period has been hugely damaging on both those two counts. And what the country is now looking for is firm but steady leadership, I think, from someone who they will have confidence will run the economy effectively and well and in the best interests of them and their family. And, I am in no doubt, as I was before, that that person is Rishi Sunak. He has shown by his economic leadership in the most difficult of times in Britain over the COVID crisis that he knows what to do. And as a result of the measures he took, Britain had the best furlough scheme anywhere in the world, and something like 12 million people's families were helped directly, and something like 2 million businesses. And that's because he was the safe helmsman. He was the man who understood what was required and delivered for British people on the economy. So I'm in no doubt now that the right choice this time is Rishi Sunak. And indeed, I think the right choice last time, as I told your listeners at the time, would have been Rishi Sunak.
I'll come to Rishi Sunak and all the other potential contenders in a moment's time. But let me first ask you a question about the process that begins, presumably today, of choosing a new prime minister. Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the 1922 committee, has said that the process will be over by the 28th. He's also said that if there are two candidates, party members will vote online. Can all of that be done in 7 days?
Well, I'm advised by the party management that it is possible to do it. So I think the answer to that is yes. I think the best interest of the country will be served by us having a new prime minister as swiftly as possible. And I think also that the members of the Conservative Party in the country will be content to endorse a new prime minister who is clearly the choice of the parliamentary party. That may not be the case if the parliamentary party is very divided between the top two candidates for this position. But my hope is that there will on Monday be a clear and decisive decision by the parliamentary party, and that will satisfy members that whoever is the winner of that should go forward as prime minister.
Now, you've already said that Rishi Sunak, without doubt, is the best person at this moment to become leader of the Conservative Party and therefore automatically Prime Minister of Britain. We don't know whether he's going to throw his hat into the ring, although it's widely expected he may. But what do you believe are his chances? Are your very strong views of support shared by a majority of Tory MPs?
I think that they are likely to be, as people think this weekend, mull over what are the key characteristics that they want from the next leader of the party and prime minister. What is it that our constituents want? And it is that having seen the gyrations and dangers of a lack of economic market confidence, I think they will, in the time-honored phrase of Bill Clinton, the former American president, agree that it is the economy, stupid. And I think when it comes to economic leadership, who would the markets have most confidence in? I'm in little doubt that the team of Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt will give the markets the greatest confidence.
With Rishi as Prime Minister?
Yes, with Rishi as Prime Minister and Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor of the Exchequer, Minister of Finance. He's made it clear he's not going to stand for the leadership, and he wants to sort out the very challenging and difficult circumstances that the British economy presents at the moment.
Now, there are several reports that Rishi Sunak is said to be unpopular with Boris Johnson supporting MPs because Rishi's resignation led to Boris Johnson's collapse. Is that a handicap that could stymie Rishi Sunak?
Well, I think it is true that that feeling is abroad. I think that is what some people think. I think it's very unfair. He was not the first person to resign. Something like 60 people resigned in one way or another from Boris Johnson's administration. But it is an accusation that is made against him. And I think in these circumstances that should be put to one side, and that everyone should seek to deliver for the British public, for our constituents and for the party, the best person to be Prime Minister. And I'm in no doubt that that is Rishi.
Now tell me, why is Jeremy Hunt not standing? Surely his swift response to the economic crisis when he became Chancellor of the Exchequer was not just widely admired, but respected and liked by the markets. Doesn't that give him a good chance of winning if he were to stand? So why is he not standing?
Well, he's decided that now is not his time. He's stood for the leadership twice. He's lost twice. This may, of course, be as a result of his campaign manager, my good self, not being very good at the job. But he has lost twice. He only secured, I think, 18 votes on the last occasion out of an electorate of 365. And I think he's concluded that now is not his time, and that he's been there and tried that, and that the best contribution he can make for his country and his party now is to be a highly effective Minister of Finance, and that is what he will be.
Now, the political editor of the Times newspaper has tweeted that Boris Johnson might stand, and apparently there are reports that he's flown back early from the Caribbean where he was on holiday so he can sense what his prospects would be. Could you see a Boris Johnson resurrection happening, as perhaps he hinted in his own farewell speech when he referred to himself as Cincinnatus? Or do you think that sort of political resurrection is unlikely?
I think it's very unlikely. Boris is a brilliantly charismatic and amusing companion. And he has been our Prime Minister, and he deserves some credit for getting Brexit over the line. But I think his time has passed. It would be, I think, quite a stretch for a leader to return who had the record for the greatest number of resignations from his administration shortly before his fall. And he is, of course, the subject of an inquiry from the Privileges Committee of the House of Commons. That is a very grave matter. And with that hanging over him, I think it is most unlikely that he would return in any form to office in Britain.
Now, if at the end a Rishi Sunak Penny Mordaunt runoff happens, as some commentators are suggesting is quite possible, would Rishi win?
Well, I think that's for my colleagues to decide over the weekend. But I think the case that Rishi will be offering the Conservative Party, and more importantly, the country, is a compelling one. And I have no doubt that Penny Mordaunt, who is enormously capable and highly respected, would work well in a Rishi administration. And I very much hope that that is what will happen.
One quick question, because we're assuming in this conversation that you're fairly confident Rishi Sunak will stand. Is that correct? You're confident he is going to stand?
I am fairly confident. Of course, he will be thinking carefully about that, and he's been through a very lengthy and bruising contest in the country during August. And I know from conversations I have had with him recently how much he's enjoyed spending time recovering with his family and being a good father. So I'm sure that he will have a decision to make, but I am confident that he will make the right decision, which is to offer himself for election as our next Prime Minister.
Now, Andrew Mitchell, even after the Conservatives unite behind a new leader, are they agreed as a party about the direction that person should take the country? Or are the Conservatives split over that issue?
Well, any political party is a broad church. And within our party, we have a one nation tradition, and we have a tradition that is normally characterized as on the right of the party. I think the Conservative Party knows that its chances in the future of winning the next election are quite challenged, and that we need to win elections always from the centre. And so I think there will be an overwhelming agreement within the parliamentary party that a compassionate one nation Conservative administration that governs Britain from the centre of politics is best placed both to deliver what our constituents want and to have the best chance of the next general election.
And your assumption is that Rishi Sunak is the best man to represent a compassionate one nation Tory party?
Yes, that is my assumption, and that is why I am supporting him.
Finally, what is the mood of the wider membership of the Conservative Party? How do they view the dreadful drama of the last 45 days?
I think with great dismay and upset. I think I know our members very well in my own constituency of the royal town of Sutton Coldfield. And I know they want the best for our country and the best for our party. And they will view all of this through that prism.
And what about the great British public? How do they view what's happened to their country? And how do they view the Tory party? Because in the polls, you're tanking by 36% below Labour at the moment.
I think they expect better, and that is why they are entitled to an apology for what has happened in the very recent past. And I had a big meeting in my constituency last night, at which I delivered my own apology for that. But in politics, you must pick yourself up and dust yourself down and get on with it. And it is the duty, but also the privilege of the Conservative Party now in government to try and deliver good and godly government now, and then put itself in the hands of the public at the polls at the next election.
When you say that the British public are entitled to an apology, are you suggesting that the new leader, whenever he or she is elected, should begin by saying to the British public, I'm very sorry, we got it wrong, we're now going to correct course, and I assure you we won't make these mistakes again? Is that what you believe he needs to, or she needs to say?
Well, that is effectively what the Prime Minister has said over the last week. So whether they say it or not, that is clearly the position of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom.
Tell me, as a party, how worried are you about the prospects of the national election, which will have to happen around December 2024 or early January 2025? Given how far you've fallen in the polls, do you believe that the chances of winning another election are now very bleak, no matter who becomes the party leader and prime minister?
Well, it would always be difficult in a cricket-playing country to stay at the crease forever. And of course, we believe as a cricket-playing country in giving the other team a go. And no British political party has ever won 5 elections on the trot, and that is what we will be seeking to do. But, you know, statistics and polls don't matter when you come to a general election, when you put your offer to the country and our constituents make up their mind. And I'm an optimist. I believe that the Conservative Party is always the best party in government, but we have to live up to that aspiration. And in the 2 years that now between here and the general election, we have a chance to show by delivering good government under Rishi Sunak that we are worthy of being returned at the next general election. Is it a massive challenge, Karen? Yes, it is. Can we do it? I'm not sure, but I'm going to do everything I can to convince my constituents that that is the right answer.
My last question, when Tory MPs vote next week, what will be at the front of their mind? A prime minister who can handle the present crisis because it is of such a great dimension, or a prime minister who gives them the best chance of winning in 2024? Or is there no difference between the two options? Are they the same?
They are the same. And both of those two aspirations which you set out are the key to our success. And that is what we want to see in our next prime minister.
And you firmly believe that Rishi Sunak is the right man to deliver both?
Yes, I do. I believed it last time, and I believe it this time.
Andrew Mitchell, thank you very much for making time for me.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on The Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, And if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.